Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Witchy Peer Support. I'm Sage Wilder, and I'm happy to have you here today. A couple of things have been crossing my mind over the last few weeks. I'm approaching my birthday in a few months, and it has come to my realization that I will be 50 in 11 years. Nothing wrong with being 50. I'm actually quite excited to be 50. What I don't understand is where did the time go? Like, I have an adult child in 3 weeks. My child will be an adult. When did that happen? I was 19 when I had them. What? And it brings me to a full circle of reviewing my life over the last 20, 25 years. And one of those things is my witchcraft and spiritual journey. Now, I've been practicing witchcraft since 1998. Okay, I take that back. I've been studying witchcraft since 1998 because in 1998, I was 12, 13 years old. And at 12 or 13 years old, I thought practicing magic would not be a good idea until I was 16. Actually, that's kind of a fairly mature thing for someone my age at that time. But I'm not saying minors shouldn't do magic. I'm saying that they should do magic at their skill level and understand the natural consequences. And at 12, 13 years old, I just thought I would be more mature to handle it, not handle the natural consequences. So we'll get into that part a little later. So who here has heard of a witch's call? It's been brought up a lot lately over the last 5-6 years with the explosion of witch talk and other platforms and things like that. And it's not the first time that I've heard it either. A witch's call is the moment that you get connected to witchcraft, whether it's by a book, by a friend, by a festival, or in my case, a book, a movie, and a friend. Not a friend, really. Well, we're going to blame my sister for this one. My sister, guys, because in 1998, I was doing what most girls did when they shared a room with their older sister, and that was snooping. Oh, yeah. So let's get into it. Let's get into my witch's call and how it involved just acting like a little brat. So, for any of you who have siblings, more specifically 3 or more sisters, you end up sharing a room with that sister. Now, I had 3 sisters, 2 older, 1 younger. And I did not like sharing a room with my younger sister. She drove me up the walls. She drove me up the walls right up until I cut contact. I mean, it just never really ended, really. Like, ever. But anyways, I got so sick of it, I begged and begged and begged my mom and my oldest sister that her and I should share a room because we got along better and we had more things in common. And after begging and begging for, like, I think a week, maybe 2 weeks, we finally got the okay to switch rooms. So I went from the room of my little sister into the room of my big sister, and my second older sister went into the room of my baby sister. And this worked out really well, honestly, because my oldest sister was never home. She was never home. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I moved up north before I was old enough to understand what was going on in the Ozarks when you're a teenager. But that girl was never home. She was out running around with friends, boyfriends, things like that. And I'm like, we live 20 minutes from, we live a minute from town, a hot minute from town. How are you getting places? But I missed her, but I loved having my alone time to be able to read because I didn't like my sister's music at the time, though. So one night she was gone and I was sitting in bed and I was just listening. This is really going to age me, not saying 1998 or anything else, but I was listening to the Spice Girls, NSYNC, 98 Degrees. Oh, yeah. the good ones, while reading a book called Dragon Sword and Wind Child, which is my all-time favorite book. I may be like romanticizing it at this point, considering I haven't read it in 20 years because I lost my copy of it and I've never been able to find it, and then I forget about it. Anyways, I was sitting there reading and I was kind of getting bored with the book for a moment because it hit a slow pace, and I was just kind of looking around the room and trying to find something to do, try to stay entertained. And I looked at my sister's bed and I had this pulling feeling to keep looking, and I noticed there was 2 books and a shoebox under there. So what does any book-loving, bratty little sister do? We snoop. And that's what I did. So I shimmied across the living room, the bedroom, and I crawled under the bed a little bit, and I grabbed the 2 books and I pull them out, and I grabbed the box because I just felt like I needed to see what was in the box. What is in the box? What's in the box? What's in the fucking box? So I look at the books and I get excited because I think they're going to be like freaking Harry Potter or something. I don't know. Because the titles were Dancing with Dragons by DJ, sorry, I apologize, RIP man, DJ Conway, and Teen Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. And I was excited to find these books. I was like, heck yeah, this is going to be an adventure. It was an adventure. It's been a over 20 some odd year adventure. I wasn't wrong. And I looked at the box, and the box really kind of, it's just a normal shoebox. But when I opened it, it was, something was wrapped in a fake velvet-like material. So I sit there and I look at it and I start kind of like playing with the material a little bit, feeling it between my fingers, and I'm realizing I really like this texture. And then I open the cloth. I pull it one way, I pull it the other way, and the other way, and the other way. And inside of it was 4 white tea lights, a little mini journal, and what I thought at the time was weed. It wasn't. It was sage. but I just remember Dare, and I thought that's what it was. And so I was like, well, we're not going to touch that. But we are going to read the journal. And we did read the journal. And the first thing I see in that journal is Come to Me oil. And I'm looking at it and I'm reading it and I'm like, why would you want anyone to come to you? Like, why don't you just walk up to them? Like, I wasn't understanding the concept behind it because I had no previous knowledge. But then I put that down and I open up Teen Witch and I read the front page, the letter to the parents about witchcraft, and my heart sank. But at the same time, my mind felt comforted. Because at that time in my life, I was going through something really, really rough. Something that no child should ever have to go through at home, outside of home, in school. It just was not a good life for me at that time. But I was looking for protection. And I was going to Catholic church every Sunday as I could. And if I couldn't go to Sunday at that church, I would go to another little country church. And I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I was so convinced that I was going to be protected from everything that was happening that I didn't understand what was going on. So I continued to switch over between books, looking at them, and I found the protection area of DJ Conway's Dancing with Dragons. If I remember right, it was very specific on fire magic and protection. And my heart stopped sinking. It felt warm. I felt comforted, and I knew I needed to know more about what I had just found. So I spent the time between 1998 till 2001 reading those 2 books only, because it was the only access to those books that I had. And we were poor. We didn't have a computer. I didn't have access to internet. And when we finally did get a computer, it was dial-up. So I had to be really sneaky about looking at this stuff because my mother could hear the internet connecting and would go look and see what I was doing. And she could not know that I was doing witchcraft or studying witchcraft or anything connected to it. I was still actively going to church. I even switched churches. I went to a Baptist church, which is not bad. Baptists are not bad. I just was not prepared going from Catholicism to baptism while secretly studying witchcraft. So in 2001, for my birthday, I get a book. I cannot say the word that I was just about to say, and I was not going to butcher it here on YouTube, but I got a witchcraft book and some incense and sage. And at this time, I do know what sage is. I know what sage looks like. And a couple of friends get me a couple of other books throughout the year, and I ashamed to admit this, but I think I've donated enough books over the years to make up for the karma. But I don't even think it's bad karma because I was stealing from a big box. But I used to 5-finger discount from a big box bookstore my witchcraft books, and I still have those books to this day. But when you're poor, a homeless teenager, and not much to get by on, and you need the solace of any kind of spirituality that's not what you're going with, like Baptist church, which, by the way, guys, I only went to Baptist church for 6 months and I was like, nah, I'm good. So in 2001, I get all these books. I start 5-finger discounting them, and I start studying and getting deeper into my craft. I first started off with Wicca. Sybil Ravenwolf was my girl the whole way. Like everything I learned was through her, was through Scott Cunningham and DJ Conway. Those were my 3 main ones. They're the only ones I really knew because, again, I didn't have access to things that I could learn more about. So throughout high school, I was very open about being a witch. I was very open about my religion because for me, I was angry. Why did all other religions get to go around and boast about who they were, but witches, pagans, voodoo practitioners, other practitioners of any kind had to keep it under wraps unless they were in their own community? Now, I did not have a community. My graduating class was 12 kids. And yeah, so I was just being open, hoping to find somebody who was also practicing, but in secret, or I don't want to say recruit, but talk to my friends about it. And some friends did get into it. I had one friend who got into it and then turned around and got saved, and currently to this day still says that I tried to turn her into damnation. Turn her into damnation. Anyways, so by the time I was 20, an adult, I was actively doing protection spells. I was actively learning tarot cards. I was learning ways to do protection spells to protect myself from the metaphysical world and the physical world, as well as setting my own boundaries. Because I'm going to say this: you cannot do a banishment spell, a protection spell, or any spell without having your own boundaries. And that took me a minute to learn, because I would banish a friend that would do things to me all the time, and I'd bring her back. And I'm like, wow, why isn't the spell working? Me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. So I eventually I tried joining other covens up in Omaha. I tried going to other events, and it just felt too organized religion for me at that time. And I wasn't really comfortable with that. So I decided I was going to be a solitary witch again in my life. And I have been solitary ever since. I have practiced with friends over a couple of times over the years, but most of the time I keep my craft to myself. My friends know the gist of what I do, but I don't go deep dive into it with them because they know I consider it very guarded for myself. I'm not gatekeeping. It's just for me, in my spirituality, I feel better if I keep the work that I do to myself. And a lot of people are okay with that. Some people are not, but that's okay. I'm not sitting here hiding secret ingredients of things or whatever, whatnot. I'm just keeping what I do to myself. Now, I left Wicca 6 years ago. I could no longer align with it. I didn't agree with some of the things that was taught or discussed. and I decided to go more towards the pagan route. There is nothing wrong with you if you're practicing Wicca, as long as you're being respectful to other cultures. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I started practicing my ancestry work. I started practicing my shadow work. I started practicing more nature-based things and working more closely what aligned with my Cherokee heritage versus what aligned with my Nordic heritage, because I felt a much deeper connection with my Cherokee heritage, more so than my Norwegian. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm half. I can, do both if I wanted to, but I felt like if I went down this indigenous line of practice and studied and connection, that I would feel more connected to a part of a culture that was stolen from me and so many others. And, leading up to this day, I'm still very connected with those things. I'm still very connected with my indigenous side. I'm still very connected to nature. I still use things that taught me from Wicca over the years. I learned how to manifest with Wicca. I learned how to use intention. I learned how to meditate. And I carry those things with me because they carry over into paganism too. But I'm not doing it in the sense of Wicca. And that's okay. And I'm perfectly content with my craft. And I love it. And I don't feel as much pressure when it comes to rituals and things like that. Like, some weird reason, when I was Wiccan, I felt like everything had to be just right. That could be the ADHDism, or that could be, the culture that was built around it at that time. I'm actually very disconnected from the Wiccan community, so I don't know what it's like anymore. Someone drop a comment below and let me know what it's like now. Is it pretty tame now? Because there for a while, a few years ago, it was getting a little dramatic. Now, over the years of me practicing, I've had 2 children, and I have not given them their Wiccanings. I have not given them their pagan blessings. I have not forced them into witchcraft or paganism in any way. If they had questions about any religion, I would find the answers if I did not know the answers. And if they wanted to go to church, I'd take them to church. Heck, if they wanted to learn to be Jewish, I would set up an appointment with a rabbi to have them talk with them about that and see what the possibility of that is. That's just an example. I have no idea what the process of that is. But I left it to them to decide. And now I have an atheist, an agnostic child, and that's fine. I'm happy for them. Whatever they want to believe, they can believe, and I will support them 100% as long as they're not Republicans. And that's okay. So thank you so much for coming in tonight and sitting with me and having a short discussion about my history. I could go more into detail, but I feel like that would take away from other videos that I'm going into. There will be a very specific video on witches' call, and there will also be ones on the difference between paganism and Wicca and other types of crafts. So thank you so much for coming in today. If anything here resonates with you, if you want to know more or see how I grow, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment any questions that you may have or any comments you may have about this, and I'll be happy to join the discussion. Have a lovely evening, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.